Inch by inch, foot by foot. Moving day for historically precious cargo here in Belmont. The Thomas Clark House, built in 1760, making the half-mile trip up the street to save it from the wrecking ball.
The threat was to demolish it, and that would have been a tragedy.
Dozens of town people came out to witness history in the making and history preserved. Longtime residents say it's a looking glass into the past.
They could see the smoke of Bunker Hill from this house. From the hill behind it, it represented some of the Underground Railroad of the slaves escaping.
A developer bought the land the house had sat on for 2.5 centuries. The home was ready to be demolished, but private donations allowed the house to be brought here for now to a piece of town property until a buyer is found. The crowd included a man who grew up in the home.
It's very emotional for me. For one thing, it's sad to see it leave its original home, but then again, I'm glad it's still here.
And now back to the move. How'd you like to be the truck driver on this job? But Brian Lagasse was cool under pressure.
Inch by inch, because every little divot in the ground, everything moves, everything creaks and cracks, so you got to double check and triple check.
When a house is over 250 years old, it has many stories to tell, history in every board and nail. On this day, Belmont took a giant step toward preserving that history. In Belmont, Jim Smith, WBZ News.
3 generations, 3 men, 1 holiday, 1 word. Integro, Latin for to begin anew.
When he first explained it, I didn't really get it. I thought it was just kind of pointless.
Marvin Gomez, one of 16 Worcester Tech students tasked with welding a sculpture for the Fisher House. The sprawling mansion serves as a free home for military families during their darkest hours.
All the wounded warriors and their families come here to start over.
Wounded warrior Bill Kleinedler, the Iraq vet and artist behind the 12-foot sculpture Integro.
I thought it was the end. I thought at that instant, this is it.
But it wasn't the end for the staff sergeant. An IED blew up his Humvee in 2006. Kleinedler was forced to begin anew. He did it with the help of the Fisher House Foundation, flying his family from Michigan to his hospital in Texas.
It was just amazing, just to have loved ones there.
We forget sometimes about the families.
Colonel Harvey Barnum, one of several Medal of Honor recipients in Boston to dedicate Integro on Veterans Day weekend. After 27 years of service, he still travels the country helping others start over.
I'm a grateful American that these young men and women did what they did, but paid the sacrifice.
Colonel Barnum recognizes beauty in change and pays respect to the generation he calls whippersnappers.
Anybody you see, staff sergeant or less, knew when they raised their hand they were going to go to war. Now, I got to tell you, that tells you something good about American youngsters.
This weekend, one youngster turns a leaf, inspired by Integro and the spirit behind it.
It should be more about thanking the people that fought for us, not just about having a day off.
Bree Season, WBZ News.
Between the New York Yankees and your Boston Red Sox.
The sounds of morning anchor David Wade filling the stands at Fenway.
The designated hitter.
Making his debut as a Red Sox guest announcer was a dream come true.
This is something I grew up doing, announcing myself, pretending I was at Fenway Park.
No more pretending. The kid from Somerville and Tewksbury announced future Hall of Famers.
David Ortiz.
And enemies of Red Sox Nation.
Number 2, Derek Jeter.
A perfect night, a stellar view, and a lot of pressure. But David needed very little coaching.
Just push it and talk.
In, not across. Number 5, Nick Punto.
Very nice. That's how you're going to sound.
Whew. I think the hardest thing is going to be to not keep the button down and say, Jeter, boo!
Leading off.
But David was a pro. Even in front of 37,000 people and his own beaming daughter, he never seemed nervous, just excited and grateful for a night on the mic at Fenway.
This is just, heaven on earth to me.